Well, hi, welcome back. I'm doing this video back to back with the previous one because I think these two go together pretty well. This video is going to introduce the first building block of our coding, which is doing things again and 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 again with loops. We're going to take everything that we've learned so far about the SVG file, about the anatomy of a piece of paper, about the coding that we've just done, and we're going to pull it all together to do our first actual code-driven design. And then we're going to plot it out on this plotter here, which I forgot to mention this earlier. This pen plotter's name is Benjamin, and that was suggested by McGaffrey as a name for it. And that was a fair few videos ago. So welcome Benjamin to the video show. Right then. What I normally do when I'm doing a design or something like that is I sketch out roughly what I'm trying to do first on a piece of paper, and then we sit down and go code it. Let's just ignore all the cars out there. So here we have a piece of paper, which is an A4, so it is, let me write this down, 210 millimeters across and 297 millimeters down. We measure from the top left-hand corner as though we're a desktop publishing thing. We're going to say, oh, this is so far across and this is so far down. The design that I want to do is just a bunch of straight lines that start at the top and go all the way down in a rectangle. Roughly like that, but closer together. So let's take some measurements and think about this a little bit. This whole thing is 210 across, and I want margins of around 60 millimeters, 6 centimeters. So we're going to go, whoops, around there. That's like 60 millimeters across, and we want to go this way, 60 millimeters across. So 210 millimeters less 60 is going to be 150 millimeters across. So these lines are going to go from 60 millimeters across to 150, and I want to start it around 30 millimeters down and then finish 30 millimeters up from the bottom. So that would be from the top 267 millimeters all the way down here, and that is the rectangle in which we're going to draw all these lines. And then we're going to have fun plotting them in a number of different ways. But first of all, let's take this, go sit at the computer, code this up starting from where we left off last time, and then actually plot the design out. Alright, so we're back again at the computer, and we're going to pick up from where we left off, which is roughly here with our index.html. And again, all this code is going to be on the repo, so you can either follow along or you can go snag the file, and then once you have the file, start messing around with it. I will say right at the start here that anyone who is already a coder, you're going to spot several things in here where you'll be like, hey, we could do this a slightly different way. And I agree, we'll cover all that at the end because there's a whole bunch of different things we can start doing with this to make our life slightly easier. But let's start with this. Okay, the first thing is we're going to get rid of this here, and we want to have one line that, if I sort my notes, starts at 60 across and 30 down. So we're going to change this to be 60 across, 30 down, and then we're going to go all the way across to 150 across and 30 down, and that's going to draw a single line. And let's just change this script here a little bit. And we're going to change this to say lines. Okay, now we'll close this up so we don't have to worry about this ever again. Okay, let's refresh this page. So we'll reload this, we'll hit the save button. I can see it downloading lines. Let's have a look at that. And then in our downloads folder, lines is here, a single line. Okay, now we get into the code part. Back to here. We're going to use another one of these let things. So we're going to go let y equals 30. So remember, we go x is across, y is down, and then all we're going to do here is doing this in these little backticks, it's basically saying whenever you see y here, replace it with whatever the value of y happens to be. So if we now change this to be 100, and then when you reload this, we can now see this has changed to 100. If we change this to 150, reload this page, 150, and sure enough, if we save it, we'll have a new file in there where the line has moved down. So far, so good. So let's set this back to 30. And now we're going to introduce the loop. Now, this is one of the more unusual type of loops. I'll show you the more traditional loops. This is a while loop. And what we want to happen is we want to slowly move the y down, and we're going to keep going while y is less than 267 millimeters. So while it's still above here, we're going to keep going. So here we go. While y is less than 267, we're going to do this. Okay. Now this is a dangerous loop because we're not doing anything to y, so this is going to keep going round and round and round. So we actually need to go y plus equals, let's move it down by 10 millimeters, or I could go y equals y plus 10. That's probably an easier way of thinking about it. So if we come back over here and reload this, we now have all of these lines down here, but 30, 40, all the way down to 260, which is fine. So if we go view that, we save it, fantastic. Now we've got a whole set of lines down here. Let's do every, let's do one every 2 millimeters, shall we? Okay, and then we reload this, save it again. Lines 3, we can see we've got all of these down here. Into our downloads folder, lines 3, lots of lines, exactly where we want them. And that's it, we're done. I'm going to show you just a couple of things before we move on, because I'm sure people will be thinking it anyway. We could go const step equals 2. Then we're going to go y equals y plus step. So that constant is not going to change in code. We might go change it. We might change it down to 1 or half a millimeter or 5 millimeters or 4 millimeters. That's 3 millimeters. We're going to keep it at 2 for the moment. And we can go y equals y plus the step value. And if we're going to be really technically correct, let's say I change that to 1. This is whilst y is less than or equal to 267, because we want it to include that 267th, because otherwise we're going to get to 266, then we'll add 1 to be 267, and 267 is not less than 267, so we'll never get that last line. So to be technically correct, y less than or equal than 267. That's every 1 millimeter, so let's run it again. There we go. If we save this, we have even more lines. So we've gone from a single line to being able to move it spaced apart every 2 millimeters, every 1 millimeter. Let's go plot these. All right, so I'm all set up here. I'm going to put the paper in and then use magnets to hold it down. I think that's roughly right, that'll do. We're going to go over here and open up this lines 3 in Inkscape. So that's what it looks like. Let's go to extensions, Phantom Tools, Next Draw, plot the entire document. Okay, let's put a pen in. Okay, that looks about right. And set it away. is our design of whatever 267 divided by 2 is for how many lines. But this is the thing that's kind of interesting about this. Let me show you. There we go. Now, what I'm interested in is what happens if we just move this base ever so slightly like that. And take this pen out and put a blue one in. And then do the whole thing all over again. This is where I wish I'd used a better colour quality blue pen. Go. As you can see, even with this simple design, we already have something interesting going on here with the interference patterns on these lines. So one of the things with drawing machines and pen plotters is it's a combination between the code and the materials that we choose to use, the pen, the paper, how we choose to plot. So a very simple little bit of code that's just doing a loop of lines, you can turn into more complicated things. Let's try another couple of things. Okay, let's go back to our code over here and make this step be 3. Okay, over to Firefox, rerun it, save it, that's lines 5. Now let's make the step to be 5, reload it, save it, so that's lines 5 and 6. Let's do the same again, we'll pick different colours. Let's go with a light green, lightish green. Loads 5. Okay, extension. Let's just plot it. Now what we've done with our code is we're making it go every 5mm, so quite wide spacing. And the second file that we did every 3mm will be more lines, and we're using this one here. And curiously, we're using prime numbers, so it will go in and out of sync a little bit. Let's see what happens. Now, this is the result we have from here, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's try something else ever so quickly. So instead of a constant on the step, we'll make it a let and start off at 1mm. But down here, we're going to go step equals step multiply by 1.02, let's say. So that means the gap between the lines is going to get bigger as we go along. Let's see what that looks like. We'll refresh this, lots of decimal points. We'll save it, number 7. So you can see how they start off thick and then start spacing out. So let's plot this one, again with this blue. I'll put a new sheet of paper in. Okay, over to Inkscape. Actually, let's open it. We're going to go extension, again, tools. Let's just plot it. Let's have a look at this one. This pawn probably would have been better if I'd lined it all up properly. I think we're going to grab this brush pen here. Let's do something with a brush pen. And if we have a look in the paper drawer. I've got this Japanese paper here. Let's grab a couple of these sheets because I'm sure we'll mess the first one up. Okay, I've got some coins here. So let's just paste them around. Is what happens with the brush pen when you place some objects underneath the paper. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want a 6 centimeter by 6 centimeter square over there with stripes every 2 millimeters. So that will be 60 millimeters away from that side, which will be 150. So let's go do our code. And we're going to go from 150 all the way to the edge to 210. And we're going to start at 0 and we're going to go down 60 millimeters. So we're going to go from here across every 2 millimeters to make a square just in that corner there, which is there. And I'll show you why now. There we go, there's the finished thing. I mean, I'm just messing around here by moving this around, but this is an A4 drawing machine, and this is an imperial sheet of paper, which is several A4 sheets. But because we're moving this around, and we have these squares here, we're actually coming up with this design from that very simple bit of code, just drawing some lines. So again here, changing the amount we're increasing, putting a little break in the lines, that goes down a bit and up a bit, just adjusting by a millimeter. This very fine Japanese paper here where we're using a brush on it, raising the height. The texture that's going on here because the pen is old, the nib is kind of damaged, so we get this rough texture. And then interleaving of colours here, all with the same code, just a simple loop. So my view is you don't have to have all the complexity in the code, all the thought and design in the code. It's how you apply that code to the paper, to the texture, to the ink you're using, all sorts of other things. You don't need to have amazing coding skills to be able to start to do interesting stuff. We're going to go back to the laptop now just to go back over the code a little bit and point to a couple of places where we could make a few changes. And then we'll go on to the next lesson, which is all about if statements, which is, should we do one thing or should we do another? Where we're going to extend this line code, but decide, should we draw a line? Should we skip it? Should we draw a line? All right, let's sit down. Okay, we're back here. We're very quickly going to go through this code, just with a couple of pointers that we could do. So the very simple thing, we're starting on the left, we're going to the right, and we're starting at Y down and going to Y. You could make that end one, that end point 2 millimeters lower, but some of you may have already spotted we could do a couple of things here, which is up at the top, I could go const width equals 210, const height equals 297. And then here, we can put the width in, put the height in. Let's do the same again over here. So what that's going to allow us to do is if we want to use a different size piece of paper, we can just change the width and the height up here. Let's also, we'll put it down here, but we'll go const side margin equals 30, 60. So here we can go, actually, you know what? We're going to start side margin in. So 60 in. And over here, we're instead going to go width minus the side margin. So we're going to go 60 millimeters across, and then we're going to finish 60 millimeters from the full width of the paper. Okay. And the other one, we can go, let's go const top bottom margin equals 30. And then we're going to start Y off at 30. And we're going to go height minus the top bottom margin. So we're going to start at 30 down, and we're going to keep going until we reach 30 millimeters from the bottom. And then this allows us to start doing things like making this only 20 millimeter margins. So if we actually try that, let's go to 20 all the way around. And then we reload this page and save it. Over in the downloads folder, we're now filling the page like this. Let's go the other way and make it 90 and 90 all the way around. And then run it and save. Now we have a very narrow set of lines in the middle. You can start messing around with things like that and changing the step value. So I thought I'd just explain that because I know some people are going to go, well, obviously you can do this. And I just want to point out that maybe that's a fun thing that you can do. You can start messing around with those values. All right, let's go. Actually, I'll just chat to you just here. As you can see, you can do quite a lot with a very small amount of code. And we're just going to keep adding to this as we go through the videos. I know this has been a longer video than normal, but I thought it was worth exploring all the different things that we can do. Right, couple of things. All this code, once again, is going to be up on GitHub. I will try to keep all the different versions, so you'll see a number of files, so you can pick and choose which one you want. And I really suggest you go in there and you start fiddling around with the numbers and just playing with it and exploring. And I would really love it if you kind of somehow showed me what you're doing. If you make a video, if you stick it on Instagram or wherever you put it, just tag me and I'd really like to see it. Maybe at some point we'll just round up a whole bunch of people's results and then stick them into a video. All right, that's it. It's the end of a long day and I got to edit this now. I love you all. I will see you in the next video. That'll do.